Okay, so we have, so this is November 30th, right? Which means we have, next one would be, let me look at the calendar so we can do it accordingly. Hold on just a second. I just want to make sure how much we can cover. Okay, so okay, unfortunately, we have one more week left because the finals is on the week after, which is the on 14th. Okay, again, this is going to be a final, just a final presentation for your project. So if you haven't started, do start now. Again, I don't expect like a really complex application. Build something simple, right? If you haven't started. And if you have time, you can add some more functionalities, right? But I would suggest if you haven't started, start now because we only have 2 weeks left. So next week we'll have so this week we'll cover the lists, and then a week after we'll cover another hook called use effect, and that would be it. Obviously there's so much stuff to learn in React, but I think using this information you can actually build something very simple. And yeah, I also have a React. Did I give you guys the code for a React class on Udemy?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, good. All right. Yeah, Angie. Oh,
Yeah, I remember last class we were asked to think about a final project, an
yeah,
idea for today, so we can discuss if that's manageable or possible.
yeah, sure. Go ahead if you have any questions on it. Like, what do you have any idea what you want to build?
I was thinking about this memory game, but I
Okay.
don't know if it's too complex. Yeah, I also want to keep something, yeah, that I'm able to complete and not feel frustrated.
Oh, okay. So let's look at memory game. What is a memory game, right? So I think I would be happy if you can at least start. Let's say if you want to build a memory game, okay? I would be happy if you make some progress. A memory game it is complex. I mean, it's not too complex, but it is complex. It will require some CSS knowledge. Also, if you want to build a memory game, there's a one important part that I need to cover, which is randomness. So we can cover randomness today. How do we achieve randomness? Uh, Basically, you will need to build a matrix of a bunch of cards that are um, uh, face down, right? And then you'll have pairs. How many pairs? It's up to you, right? It doesn't matter. The complexity doesn't go increase if you have more cards. Um, but let's say you have 10 cards, uh, which means you have 5 pairs, right? And so you can have I would suggest pick something like 4 by 4. So that's 16 cards, so pay a pair of 8, right? Something like that. So it's easy to draw. And then you need to randomly place those. Initially you can just use some simple numbers. So let's say we'll pick the number between 1 and 8. So you'll have a pair of 1, pair of 2, pair of 3, so and so forth, and pair of 8. in the end, right? And then you need to randomly shuffle. Basically, you need to shuffle them so that they are, you basically have an array of all those numbers, right? So I can show you how to build that array today, and then that would help you build that game. How far you go, it's up to you. You think about how you're going to build it. Obviously you need to have a state, which will be the array itself, right? And then you also need to remember if the card is if there's a match already, then you need to display the match accordingly, right? So it is a little ambitious project, but I would say if you can at least show the cards and have few features in there, I'll be happy. Okay, you don't have to have the all functionality working, but it's a fun project, I would say.
All right.
All right. And then since we have a class next week, if you get started today or this week, you can, if you have any issues, we can discuss next week. All right. How about Raven? Do you have any idea what you want to build?
Yeah, the only thing is I'm kind of like in Angie's like position where I'm not sure how complicated it will be. But you were saying something about being able to like make a list, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there something like I can make where it's like kind of like an organizational thing, like a shopping list or like checking off like items or something?
Well, what NG it's a game, it's a matching game, right? But
Oh, okay. Sorry.
you can build something simple. Let's say you can build something where you have some list, and if you click on it, each list has some details. So you have a list with some details. So if you click on each item, you can see the detail. What I can do is I can go over a very important feature, which is called I can show you how to build a to-do list today, which will be a complete application. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And that would give you some idea. You can actually build a version of a to-do list, so you can extend it by adding something. So those who don't know what to build, you can take today's example that I'm going to show you, and you can extend it by adding some more features to it.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So something like that would would be great as well.
Okay.
Yeah, Raisa, do you have any idea what you wanted to build?
I was thinking of the snake game, but I don't know how difficult that is gonna be.
Snake game is gonna be quite complex.
So do you have any idea of simple games I could look
there
into?
are a couple of games you can I can think of. A simplest game would be to build is obviously memory game. The one Angie's building is a pretty good game. The other game would be let's look at it. I can show you some examples before we get started. Hold on, let me share my screen.
They recommend Hangman, but I don't know that game.
Yeah, you can build Hangman is also not that complex. It's just a little bit more. If you can make a simple one. Cool. We can go over a few of those and then see. Let's say. Yeah, let me share my screen. Yeah, geez, I see my screen.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so this is a hangman, right? this is written in JavaScript. I can give you the link. You can build in React if you want. So the game is essentially, so you have some sort of and you can just pick one movie title. You don't have to have you know, a lot of titles. Just have a one movie title that user has to figure out. And then you have 10 lives, right? So let's say if I pick A, so I think it's free to pick all the vowels, right? So I usually, what I'll do, I'll just pick all the vowels first. Okay. All right. Oh, looks like it, yeah, okay. Looks like it's taking three of my lives. Okay, that's fine. And then I can pick something more, let's say ST is usually more frequent. Okay, let's try D. All right, I still don't know what the movie is. Dirty Harry, that's the name of the movie, right? So what you need to, obviously you need to build this matrix. Okay. This is pretty easy. You can just you know, use a so today I'm going to show you how to build a list. So you can just use A to Z in an array and you can build this list, right? And then when you click on each item, you need a state which keeps track of what's been used and right? And so you can use them to highlight those that are not used, right? And then also what's been used, you can have this element here that you know, once something is used, it will fill this if it's part of the movie, right? So obviously this is Dirty Harry, and then at the end you win. If it's not, then you lose, right? So we can try something like this. The other game I was talking about is let's say simplest game is called guess the number. This is also an interesting game that you can build. Okay, so you have a oh, this is something else. Let's try. Okay. This is interesting. I don't know what it's doing. But okay, so here's a guess the number game. So let's say you need to pick a number between 1 and 1,000, right? So let's say if I pick 500 and then guess. Okay. All right. Somehow it's not working. Or what it would do is it would say, oh, your number is higher than 500, right? So if it's higher, then I know that I don't need to use anything below 500. So I'll just do 750, and then it would say lower or higher, and then I will have a counter which see how many tries I've had, right? And so at the end you will have you know, like how many guesses you've made. Obviously somehow this doesn't work, but let's see. I'm sure there's a game that works. Play the game. This is interesting. This is in the showing in this box here, but you know. Oh, okay. I can share this out. Okay. This is another game that is interesting. But as I said, you know, if you don't know what to do, I'm going to show you a to-do list today. You can just build a version of it, right? Okay. And I think who else joined in the end? Kautar, do you have any project in mind that you wanted to build?
Not yet. I was trying to think of like some ideas of like what I could do, but I think just kind of these examples kind of help maybe like what direction I maybe want to go of like something of like like a matchmaking kind of thing of where you kind of like I'm not totally sure yet.
Oh, okay, okay.
But yeah.
Okay. As I said, if you, just pick something simple. If you don't know, because you only have 2 weeks, so I would not go too excited and build something that might require a lot of time.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Are we supposed to use code pen or sandbox?
So for React application, you want to use code sandbox because that's the best one.
Okay.
I was just showing you here because the code pen has some. This is a raw JavaScript example. These are not React example.
Oh, okay. Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go to code sandbox, and what we're gonna do is let's build that. So we need to learn 2 things today. We learned about how to click, how to manage state, how to click on it and have a handle, right? Today we're going to learn how to do input boxes. So you can input something in a box and also render a list. Okay. So let's first, you know what? I already have logged in somewhere. So make sure you log into your Code Sandbox account. Okay. All right. Okay. So this is my Code Sandbox account. I'm going to create a new sandbox with React. I'll give you a few minutes to create one. Okay, so what we're gonna build is a list, to-do list. Okay, so what this list is going to have is imagine you wanna keep a track of your things that you wanted to do, and so there will be an input box where you can type what you wanted to do, and then there will be a button. When you press on that, it add that item to the list, right? And then so the list will grow, and then once you finish that item, let's say if I say go watch a movie, let's say it's one of the items in the list, and once I finish watching the movie, I'll click on it, say I watched it, so the item would go away. Okay, the simple functionality, but it does a lot of things in it. Okay, so firstly, how to render a list. So we need use state, right, from React. So make sure you code with me, right? So if you go to app.js, right, and then you will see this, and so add import a use state from React. If you have any question, please raise your hand or speak up. And if you want me to slow down, let me know as well. We're just going to change this title here. We're going to call it to do list. Okay. Okay, so let's have a list ready with few items in it. Okay. Ideally, you want to have an empty list, but in this case, since I wanted to show you how to render the list, I'm going to put a few empty items, pre-built items in it, right? So anyone remember how to create the state? I think I've showed you, right, guys, before, right? So to create a state, you would do const and then two things you want. So so this will be an array, right? Because it's a list. So it's going to be an array. And what I need is getter and a setter, right? So getter would be, so if I want to access the list, I can use some variable. So I'm going to call it my list, right? And a setter would be if I want to modify this list, I can say set my list, right? So you always need two things, getter and setter, and then you would say use state, and then inside you would have an empty list, right? But instead of empty list, I'm going to have a few things inside. So let's say the first thing would be sleep and eat. Two simple thing, right? Okay. Any questions so far? So to create any state, we would need a use state from React. So this is given. So you always do this if you want to create any state, right? And then for each state that you want to create, you want to name the variable. So you always want to follow this pattern, right? Where you would say const in a square bracket, you would have name of the variable. So let's say if I say my list, then we'll have a setter, which is set my list, right? And equal to use state. And then here you provide the initial state. If I don't want anything, I can just have a square bracket, empty square bracket, which is an empty list, right? But here I'm just putting a couple of items inside to start with. So this is my initial state for that list. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna just display the list here. Okay. To display the list, what we need to do is what happens, remember when we learned the JavaScript, we use something called map function. The map function, what it does is if you have an array, let's say of array of numbers 1, 2, 3, and if I want to double every number, I would let me show you codes. So if I go to CodePen and then remember, if I have an array, let's say let array equal to 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and if I want to double every number, all I need to do is array dot map, and then here I will get each value, right? So I can get 1, 2, 3, whichever. This would be a value, and I can say map this to, so then every value becomes double the value. So for take every value and double it. That's all it's saying, right? And so this would give me double, or I can say new array, right? Okay. And if I console log this, here I would see 2, 4, 6. If I do 3 times, it would, you know, triple it. But what if I, instead of putting this, what if I want to have, you know, something else? So I can do, let's say, div, okay, plus, well, plus, right? I can do something like this. So what this will do is it will wrap it every element with div. You can see div 1, div 2, div 3, right? So here I'm actually converting number and then creating HTML and returning the HTML element. So this is what we want to do in the other example, right? Because we have the items, right? So ideally, the list is created like this. So the list, it has an element called UL, okay? And then it would have a closing element called a UL like this, okay? And within that, you will have you will have each element with li. So I can say, you know, do something, right? So it will show up like this. And this is UL called unordered list, which means you will see, you know, okay, so you would see in a list like this, okay, if you did this. But this is hard-coded value, right? What we want is from our list here, my list, I want to render it so that it would say sleep, eat here. So it would it would interpolate these values here, right? So how do we achieve that? So all I have to do, remember, in here we did this, right? We just wrap it with div here. So instead I can just wrap it with li. It will give me, you know, it will give me li, whatever the first value, li, second value, right? So it will give me something like this, right? So all I need to do is, again, anything dynamic you want to do, you want to do it with a curly bracket. First of all, you take my list, right? Dot map, and you get a value, right? And then what you do is you can say, okay, I will take the li, and then I wrap it with a val here. You see, I did the same thing here. So if I add another thing, drink, right? I will see here. Let's try to enter this and let me know if you have any questions. So this way you can render any list. You just have to map it, and then whatever element you want to wrap it with, you just wrap it with that element. So yeah, that's why it's showing like this, because it's wrapped with li. because when you render an HTML page, you need to wrap it with an element, right? You cannot simply just say, you know, sleep, eat, drink. It doesn't really, you know, because they are strings, right? They're not elements. So you need to convert strings to elements. So that's what this does. All right. Anyone has any question or need more time to type this in? It's good if you follow me, right? So that, you know, you can code with me. Okay. So that's done out of the way. So we know that any list that we have, we can render it like this. Okay. Let's say if you want to build that Hangman game, right? So Hangman has what, A to Z elements, right? So, you know, I would, instead of li, I can use, you know, some div, and then I can have some class inside that adds, you know, I don't know, border to it, and add some color and all that stuff, right? So I can do that here as well if I want to. For example, let's say for li, I don't do this, I'm just showing you. I can add some border, right? 1 pixel, solid, red, right? So, you know, I can do whatever I want because I have an element right there. If I add a class, I can use a class as well. Okay, so now that's there, right? Next thing I want to do is I want to now have a capability such that I can add a new item. So this is a fixed item that I've added here, right? I want an ability to add a new item in this list. So for that, I'm gonna have input box. So I'm gonna have an input box here. Okay. An input box. So here's my input box, and I'm also gonna have a button. Call add. Okay. So I have an input box and I have a button here. So let's understand that this is just a raw right now. Okay. So what's going to happen is I'm going to type something inside and add, and this is going to add this to a list. Okay. So any idea how would I do that?
Sorry, what do we want to do?
Yeah. So what we want to do is I can, let's say if next thing I want to do is like a watch movie, right? So I would say watch a movie. Okay. And if I click on add, what it will do, it takes this watch a movie and it adds this to this list, right? And then since this list is already being rendered here, so it will automatically show up here, right?
Yeah, the only thing that comes to mind is like the push thing array.
Yeah.
That we learned before, but I have no idea how to type that.
Okay. Yeah, but that's a good point. Push. So what you need to do is when you click on this button, right? This button, we will take the value from the input and then push it into the list. That's all we need to do. So you're right. Okay. How do we get this value from input button is important. So what we'll do is this. As we type, so let's say as I type here, right? What I want to do is I want to capture what I'm typing into another state. Okay. So it will persist. And then when I click on add, I already have a state, that variable, so it will be a string, right? So I can say whatever that state is, use that and push it into the list. Okay, so I'm going to create another variable or state here. I'm going to call it, let's say, typed. Okay, and again, you do exactly the same thing. Set typed equal to use state, and this will be a string. Okay, because we are entering a string, right? So so the way it works is from the input box, when I type, anything that I type should get saved inside this type. And then when I click on this button, it takes whatever what I have typed here, it should take and push it into this my list. Okay, so that's the plan. You can see with React how many lines of code? Hardly any, right? But we have so much functionality here. So first of all, let's deal with the input. So every element is different, the way you treat it and to get the information. So for buttons, we have a click event, right? But for input, we have something called on change event. So I would say on change. Okay. And I will use a handle call on change handle, right? Again, I have not written this handle yet, but so same, you'll follow pretty much the same process. Anytime you want to create a state, right? You use state, you create some state variable, and you need to know what the type would be, whether it's an array or a string or whatever, right? And then when you want to modify it or you want to do something with it, you will have these kind of handles, right? On change or on click that would go and modify those. So just remember that, how to do that. Okay, so we're going to write this. So there will be a function called on change handle. Okay. And so let's say if I simply console log, you type something. Okay. So let's see how it works. So where the console went? There used to be console here. Hold on. Debugger. Okay, you have to click here, debugger. All right. And then, so all I'm going to do is, as I type, so if you see, if I do console, as I type, every time I type, it will say, you type something. Yeah. So this is pretty neat, right? So every time I type, it's running this. So I already know that it's running this, right? But how do I get the value? Because all I need to do is, if I can get the value, I can set this to using the set type so that I would know what this value is, right? So in order to do that, what happens is when I on change, what happens when it runs, it passes whichever element that it's typing in, pass it in a variable called e here, and you can name whatever you want. I'm just going to call it e, which is event. Okay, so it passes this as an event, and then it has something called target. So I can do event dot target. Okay, so if I print this, I would know what's been. So if I refresh it, and then if I type A, see what happens. It passes the whole element into as an event and as a target. So which is this element, the input element. Okay. So if I look at it, it has a value called value here somewhere. It has a lot of things, but there's one property called value. Right here, you see the value, which is A. So all I need to do is, so event is basically whatever the event is that is being passed. Target is where the event is coming from, which is the input box, right? Because I can have multiple input boxes here, but it will, whichever is being triggered. And then there's something called value. Okay, so if I again type it, so let's say if I type A, oh, let me refresh this. If I type A, why is it still printing the target? Hold on. Event.target.value. That's what I said. Why is it printing the element? Hold on. That is strange. That is strange.
We want to console log the value.
Yeah, I wanted to console log the value itself. So if I just do event, let's just do event. I'm wondering why is it not printing? It's still, see, it's always printing. Okay, if I just do this, then I would know if it's really printing the event. Oh, why is it not?
I have a question.
Yeah.
In the input in line number 16, we're calling this on change handle, but we have an argument, and don't we have to put the parentheses there?
No. So this is automatically pushed. You could pass stuff inside, which I'll show you. But in this case, what happens? The way input works is you don't have to pass anything. It automatically passes this event no matter what. So anything that you click on, there's always an event element automatic. Somehow, I'm just wondering if, because this has changed a lot. I'm wondering if this is, why is it? See, I was expecting it to print this. Okay, I mean, just
is it are we supposed to get whatever is like we're typing on add in console?
Yes, that's what I was expecting.
I'm getting that.
Are you getting that?
Yes, I was following your code.
Somehow I'm not getting it.
Maybe there is issues with the website.
Yeah, I'm not getting it somehow.
Yeah, I'm not getting it either, and I feel like I've copied what you did.
Yeah, same.
Are you getting the HTML element, this element here? What are you getting? Okay, so let's.
I'm getting whatever I type, like D or whatever,
Oh, okay.
numbers,
That's right.
anything.
So that's the right behavior.
Yeah,
I just did this.
I don't know. I copied whatever you did.
No, I think it's somehow this is not refreshed properly. I don't know what's happening here. See, now it's not. Okay, maybe event dot target dot value. Somehow, I mean, they change, they keep changing all this stuff, right? So maybe that is strange. Strange. Yeah, somehow it's not working. That's just really weird. Yeah, see, I was supposed to get the, and it's interesting. Anyway, what I'm gonna do is I'm assuming that it should work, and what I'm gonna do this is basically it's event.target value, okay, which will whatever I'm typing, it's that. So what I'm gonna do is simply do set typed, and then I'm gonna say event.target.value. So what this does is whatever I've typed, it will set this to type. So I get the and then if I want to check if it's working, all I need to do is here I can say div typed equal to typed, right? You can check anything. You just have to put between the curly brackets, right? So let's try this. See, it's not coming in. Is it because of the warning? Okay, let me see. I think there's a one possibility that I'm thinking. I'm just gonna use this here. Wondering if that's the case. Somehow it is almost like it's got stuck. It's not taking the so if let's say if I just delete the button, see what happens, or I just say plus here instead, see if it's showing up here. Oh, you see, even if I change it here, it's not changing here somehow. What? That's the problem. Why is that? And maybe they have an issue here. Okay, I'm just going to remove the debugger. Refresh it. Oh, am I missing something here? Line 16. Maybe that's the reason. Line 16. No, that's, yeah, I can see I have a, so for input, you don't need opening and closing. You can just simply do a slash at the
Do
end.
you want to check my code since it's working for some reason?
Sure. Can you paste it? I'm sure I did something weird that's causing it. I'm not able to find. And also, it's really strange that it's not refreshing this. It should at least give an error, right? So let's force an error. So if I do this. I'm gonna force an error. See, it's not even. That's a that's a strange thing. It's not even. Okay. It's like almost like it's got stuck. Okay, I'm gonna close the preview. Maybe they have a. Okay, I'm gonna add the preview again. Oh, is that why? See, now it's working. Something really strange. See, now it's working. So all I did was I killed the preview, I added it again, and it's working. So for whatever reason, it got stuck. Okay, that's fine. So basically everyone getting this now? So all you need to do is just close the preview, open it again.
So for some reason mine says error and too many re-renders, and I'm confused. Should I show my screen?
Sure.
Sorry, yeah, let me see here. So it says, yeah, like too many re-renders.
Okay, let's see. Oh yeah. See line 7?
Oh,
It's supposed to be inside the curly brackets in line 6.
oh, oops, that's okay, sorry.
Within the function, right? Within the function. No, not there. So that was
Oh,
fine. That was fine. If you do undo,
okay.
Command ZZ. Yeah. And then you see the curly brackets at the end of that line 6?
Yes.
Put it between them. It's inside the function. Yeah.
Okay, so what do I put
Yeah.
here?
It's press enter. And then put the line 9 inside that.
Oh, I see. This one.
Yeah. Because this only runs when that function executes.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you can refresh your screen on the right side. Okay.
Okay, sorry about that.
Type something in. I just want to know if it works. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, so it's working. Okay, good.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Let me grab my charger. I think it looks like I don't have enough battery. Hold on just a second.
Okay.
All right, sorry about that. Okay. So let's get okay, so let's go back to that. Yeah, so this is how it basically when you type anything, it triggers. So on chain is whenever it changes something, right? So on change, it runs this function, which is this. and whatever you define inside is going to run, right? And so, as I said, automatically it passes this event, which is kind of weird, but accept that. And it has whichever target it is, which is the input.
Sorry, you're not sharing the screen.
Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Okay, sorry. All right. So yeah, so input on change basically takes the value, so takes the target, whichever the input, and then has a value, which is whatever you typed in. It has other stuff also. If you ever need something, you can look at the list and everything, right? So that's how it works. But anyway, anytime you want to test it out to see if my state is what is printing, all you have to do is, just do this. Just take this state, whatever the typed is, and then put it here, right? So if you do this, it will show. You can also do same with my list, right? And it would just, well, my list it looks kind of funky because it just puts everything together, right? But at least you know that it's rendering, right? So it's a nice trick. Another thing you want to do is you want to feed whatever is changed back to input. So there's something called value. So what you do is you feed whatever has changed. This is kind of a little weird, but this you have to remember. You need to feed back to the value. Okay, so this thing you have to do. Okay, so that's that. Now what I want to do is, how do I now add items? So when I click on this, what I want to do is take this type and push it into my list. All right. So for that, I'm going to have on click event, right? So this we probably did before. And then inside I can have on click handle, right? And here I can do function on click handle, right? So in this case, all I need to do is push this type into my list, but you don't want to simply push it. So what you want to do is anytime you want to update a complex state like an array, first of all, you want to copy it. So what you do is this, you can say const copy my list. So you don't directly update the my list, but you first create a copy. And the way to create a copy is you put 3 dots and then say my list. Okay, so this creates a copy of this my list. Then you do push here, right? And then all you push is the typed inside. So the copy has the sleep, eat, and drink, right? And then it pushes whatever the new thing you added in here. And then you would do set my list, right? Because you can now update this my list with a new list, which is a copy. Okay, that's all. So now let's do this. If let's say, go to movie. And if I click on it, look, it adds that inside the list, right? Any question here? Yeah, Angie, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know, something is wrong with my code. Can we take a look at it really quick?
Sure, hold on. Yeah, go ahead now.
Yeah, I don't know if I have everything. I was trying to pay attention instead of typing.
No, that's fine. Let's look at it. Okay, so it just I think your issue is the same that I was having.
Which is,
If you close the preview and open it again. So it's working now, right?
when I type something, it prompts this.
Oh. It does always this?
I type some, I'm gonna start typing and then it's
Okay.
showing.
Oh, okay.
Line 10, it looked like there was a target. I don't know if that.
Okay, let's look at it. So see on change handle. Okay, so that's fine. Value is typed. Okay, so that is fine as well. Set type is, oh, instead of set type, call it set typed. Right, and then change in line 10 as well. Just for, yeah, okay, cool, good. Okay. I don't think it would make any difference. It's nice to have it. Okay. Cannot read property undefined value. Okay. That is strange.
Oh, maybe we could have a typo here.
Oh, there was a typo. Okay. Oh,
Okay.
there you go.
Yeah.
And you can just use the curly brackets and then put type somewhere, let's say line 19 to test it out. Put a curly brackets and then type in typed. Yeah, and then now try. You see it's printing right next to your add button, whatever.
Oh, I see. Okay, good. Thanks.
Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, so now make sure that you typed what I typed in, right? So you need a button on click handle, and then on click handle does this. Again, it's a simple logic. You any kind of a complex state, which is like a object or arrays, you don't want to modify directly. What you want to do is first you want to create a copy of it using 3 dots like this, right? And then you take that list and then push that typed, which is whatever you enter inside, which basically adds at the end of it, right? So now your array has, like sleep, eat, and go to movies, right? And then,
Open my face.
yeah, and then do set that.
What are the 3 dots?
The
what
3 dots is basically create a copy of it. It's called a spread operator in JavaScript. And the reason for that is, remember when we did the set type, right? We just printing whole new value, putting new value, right? Because string, you don't modify it, you just replace them, right? But arrays, you don't replace them, you modify it, right? So how do you modify it? So you need to create a copy first and then modify it, which gives you a completely new object, right? And then you can say, okay, set basically says, okay, forget about the previous one, use this one now. Questions? The only thing we need to do now is once it's added, you also want to clean up. So let's say if I do this, let's say do Texas, right? And then if I click on this, I want this to be cleaned up right after it's added. How do I do that? Any ideas?
Reset.
Say it again.
I select reset. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, you just use a set So after that, you would just say set typed. You just put an empty array, empty string, right? Which cleans it up. That's it. So let's say do Texas. That's it. You see, whatever you do, nice. It's pretty easy, right? Okay. Now let's do something. Maybe we'll just go over a few minutes. Let's just do something interesting. This time, if I click on each item, I want them to be removed. So if I click on sleep, it should removed. How do I do that? Any ideas? Just tell me whatever first thing that comes in your head. You already know that if I just remove it from the state, let's say if I remove that item from my list, right? So let's say if I click on a drink, if I simply remove this drink from my list, it would automatically not display, right? So that's all I want to do. So where do I click? So each item is this, right? This is the item that is being displayed. So I need to have an on click here. So on click, right? You can click on anything, right? And here I would say on remove handle, right? So and then if I do this function, again, the same pattern you have to follow, right? On remove handle, which is a function, and let's put a console log here. Console log something, right? So if I click on each item, for example, let me do this preview again. You see, if I click on it, it does that, right? So, which means it is working. The question is, how do I remove it?
I
So,
remember.
say it again.
No. Go ahead.
Okay. So this is where, Angie, remember you said, how do I pass something in? So in this time, I need to pass the value, right? Or index in this case, because everything is by index. So if I click on the first item, I can say remove the first item from the array. If I click on the second item, I can say remove second item from the array, right? How do I get that item? Is in the map here, I'm passing index. Okay. So what I need to do is I need to pass this index along with when I click on remove. Now, right now, we're just passing the function body inside. It doesn't really execute it, right? So it's not, I can't do this. I cannot simply pass index here, right? Because this is almost like an executing it. So what I need to do is I need to wrap it with, this is how you pass generically, right? This is how you pass. You just wrap it with another function and then execute it. This is how you can pass stuff into the handle, so the other side you will receive it. So now I would get index here, right? And if I do console log index, yeah, I guess I have to always do this because it looks like once I have a inspector, it doesn't re-render it. So let's say if I click on sleep, it should say 0, right? Because sleep is a 0th item. If I click on eat, it's a first item, right? So you can see 1. I click on drink, it's a second item, right? So when I click on it, I'm just passing whatever the index that is associated with that into here. Okay. Now all I need to do is I can say from the array, my list, remove the item from it. Again, you have to do exactly to do the same thing. So I would first create a copy of my list. Okay. Then I would need to find that element and remove it. And so for removing it, there is actually a simple syntax called splice. And so the way you do it is that you would say copy my list dot splice, and you would say pass the index, and then how many items you want to remove? Only one item. So you just do this. So what this does, it actually removes that item from the copy, and then you set the copy back to the my list, right? So you need to, anytime there's an array, you need to follow this process. So now if I click on this, it goes away, it goes away, right? So let's say A, B, C, right? Click here, click here, click here. Okay. In a way, it's actually pretty simple. You just have to practice a little bit. It's the same thing over and over you're gonna do, right? You have some state, you have some element, you click on it, you type on it, whatever, right? You pass something in, and in the handle, you manipulate the state, right? That's all you need to do. And you don't have to worry about how state would display, because it is being displayed by this list. So if you remove something from it, it automatically gets removed and it re-renders the list. Okay. Line 33. Okay, line 33. Line 33. Yes. So, so this is again, this is rendering the list, right? So the list is nothing. Okay, let me do this, right? So when I reload it, I have my list, which has 3 items, right? Okay. So here UL is basically unordered list, and inside, remember I talked about this array.map, right? All it does is takes each element and then wrap it with something, right? But for each element, you'll also get the index. So index is nothing but, 0, 1, 2, right? Remember the array's index starts from 0 and then so on and so forth, right? So you also get the index. So so what you do is for each index, for each item, you're passing, you're building this element. So it actually built in inside for each element. So let's say sleep's gonna have on-click event, eat's gonna have on-click event, drink's gonna have on-click event, right? Because this is a loop, which means every element has an on-click event. But an on-click event, sleep's gonna have this on remove handle, and then it will have 0 here, right? Eat's gonna have on click this remove handle 1 here, and then drink's gonna have on click event this and 2 here, right? So when I click on sleep, it passes 0, which is the index, right? So when it comes here, index is 0, right? And then what I need to do is remove the 0th index from the my list, which is sleep, right? Because that's what I clicked on. So first of all, if it's not a string, number, or Boolean, you need to copy it. So you create a copy using 3 dots. Okay, so it creates a list copy. So it creates a physical different copy of it, right? So it will have all 3 elements exactly like this, but it's a completely different list. Then in that copy, you splice it. So splice basically has two arguments. The first one is where exactly you want to splice, which is the index, and then how many items you want to remove. So obviously you just want to remove the only item that you clicked on, right? Which is at that index. So you would say index and 1, because index is passed through here, right? So what it does is in a copy my list, it would remove sleep and it will only have eat and drink, right? And then you just go and set my list with this new list, which only has a eat and drink. So, and it automatically gets rendered, right? Once you set it, the whole thing gets refreshed, and then my list again gets rendered with the new values. Okay, so let's say if I do watch movies, add this, right? Do taxes, add this. So each of these, so this one has a on remove handle 0, this one has on remove handle 1, this one has on remove handle 3, this one has 4, and this one has 5. So if I click on this, it's going to pass 5, and it's going to remove the 5th item, which is this, and then it will set that. So if I click on this, if I click on this, it gets removed, right? Any questions? Okay, so for the for the final project, let me share this with you, which is a working example. So for the final project, let's say if you want to use this as a baseline and you want to build something on the top of it, right? What you can do is you can add some features. So one feature would be, let's say when there's nothing in the list, it would say, no, nothing in the list. Remember, we learned about the conditional rendering, where you can check the length of the array. If the length is 0, you can render nothing in the list. If the length is more than 0, then you render the list, right? So that's the one feature. The second feature would be, let's say if I added something to the list, make the list prettier, right? By adding some nice styles. Okay. Another feature would be, right now we are clicking on and removing it, which is probably not the best idea. What if you accidentally clicked on it, right? So what you can do is when you click on it, it doesn't remove it. It will do it, it will have a, it will draw line through it, which you can use CSS to do that, right? So you can do something like, text decoration line through, right? Something like this. So what happens is you have a class, some sort of class that gets added. If I click on it, so you have a line through, and if I click again, it removes a class. Okay, so again, conditional rendering. So here you can have some class name, right? And if you click on it, but again, you need to, in that case, you need to have another, you need to keep a track of what you already have clicked on. So you need a little bit more state than that, right? Because you need to track which one is clicked and which one is not, right? And then here, if it's clicked, then you can have a line through. If it's not clicked, then there's no line through. And then you can have a separate button called delete, right? So if you click on a delete, it actually does exactly what we did here, removes the item. So two things, right? One is it will have a button here called delete. And if you click here, it just lines through. When you click on delete, it actually deletes it. Okay. If you go even more complex, you can have another list called deleted. So it removes this from, and again, you know, be creative, whatever you want to do with this. You know, feel free to build something unique. Any questions? Okay. Lastly, I think remember for randomness, I wanted to, okay, probably couldn't cover this. JavaScript, a random number between two numbers. You can use a function like this. You can use this function to create a random number. So, for example, let's say CodePen. If I want to create a number between, let's say if you want to build that the card matching game, right? And you want to create, you know, I don't know, 16 cards, right? And you want to pick randomly you want to put a random filled it randomly, or let's say if you roll a dice or something, right? If you have a game that, oh, that's another game also you can build, roller dice. So you click what is it called, not roulette, but when you roll a dice. So let's say your dice has what, 6 sides, right? And then you have 2 dices, which means if you roll 2 dices, you'll have a number. If you add both numbers, so the minimum number would be 2, maximum would be 12, right? So you can have any value between 2 and 12. And so you put the number, let's say you guess, oh, it's going to be 12, right? Then you roll the dice. So you basically roll twice between, or you can just do 2 and 12, right? And okay, so you have 11 or 5, right? And then you say, okay, do you win if you roll the dice, and if whatever you guessed is matching, you win, otherwise you lose, right? So you can build game like that as well if you want. It's a simple game. Yeah, go ahead, Angie.
Yeah, I wonder if we can talk a couple minutes about, I'm just starting thinking about how to set up the game of this metrics or the grid or either numbers or pictures inside the boxes. I know I can create an array that gives me random numbers from 1 and 12.
Yeah.
But how do I display them, let's say like in the hanging game?
Yeah, so to display it, you would use a map, right? The only difference would be, remember we use flex. So
Yes.
let's say if I have another state, let me just give you a state, let's say const new state, or nums, set nums equal to, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And then I could say, again, you need to do exactly the same thing. Nums nums dot map. Again, same thing, val and index. And then when you return it, you would use divs. Okay, and then inside you would have the val, right? Again, you can also do condition rendering, which means this is upside down, then you show the value, otherwise not, right? Okay, and then oh, sorry, not inside the UL. Let's say if I do outside the UL, for example, right? Did I do something wrong here? Hold on. Oh, need a closing tag here. That's fine. Okay. Why is it not working? Oh, do I have a nums? Yeah, it is nums. Oh, I forgot the use state. That's why. I was like, why? Okay, so I have this number like this, right? So I can do a couple of things. If I want to show it in the matrix form, then I can have a parent. Remember we learned about the flex, right? So I can have a class name called parent, and then I can parent can have display flex. Okay. And then the what you want to do is you want to show the matrix, right? Which means you know what, in this case you can actually literally, you don't even have to map this. I would do something like this. So I'm going to just show you, and then you could put the value how you like it, right? Maybe instead of doing because it's not dynamic in a way, right? You're always going to have, like, say 8 boxes, right? So you can do the first row, right? And right, and then I can have another row like this. Let's say this is called grandparent. Grandparent, okay. And then the grandparent would be display flex, but the flex direction is going to be so yeah, column, right? So this is row, this is column. So this is how you, and again, you can do, I don't know, width 20 pixel, right, 20 pixel, right? Oh, sorry, not this one. Let's say you have another class. So it's all about styling, right? So
Yeah, now that I think about it, yeah, it's styling pretty much.
yeah, it's all styling, right? So you just build a matrix, and then what you do here is, here you would do, let's say that nums 0, right? So you can do nums 0, right? Like this, right? And then this would be num. So you just do fix instead of doing the map like this. You do fix, right? So you decide where each element, because you have a fixed element, right? So you have let's say you have 16. So you can just say, oh, 16 elements, which means I'm gonna build a matrix, right? 4x4 matrix, and then you know, like each child's gonna have going to be have like a, let's say, background color, you know, red, heading 20 pixels, right? Margin 5 pixel, something like that, right? And then you can just add this class to every element, right? So you have your matrix. You see?
Yeah, thank you.
So this is how you would create a matrix. Then you have to figure, I think the challenge is going to be, so initially you can render it. So let's say okay, so the state wise, I think, you know, you don't want to have some simple state like this. You might want to have another state, let's say, okay, which would be, which I would call, you know, if it's already discovered, right? Open or something, I don't know, I'm gonna call it open, right? And so this would be nothing but true and false, right? So initially it's all false. Make sense? So you would, you know, all 8, so exactly the same size, right? 8 times false. So this keep tracks of which one is open and which one is not, right? So here you would say, if the open, if the open 0, right? Which means if that's true, then show this, otherwise show something else, right? You can show some image here or whatever, like you can show X, which means it's not open, right? So you can say, if it's open, then show X, right? I think you can do this as well. Else just do X, something like this, right? So initially it's not open, so everything's going to be all X, right? Because it's all false. And then when user clicks on it, so you need also another state, a temporary state, right? Where you have two numbers. So let's say user clicks on this one and then another number. If they're matching, right, then it will go and make those elements true, right? And the rest is false temporarily. So it is a little complex, but I think I'm sure you'll figure out. Okay. And if you have any issues, let me know. Next time we can go over it. But you get the gist of it, right?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. This would be an interesting project to solve. Again, you don't have to like have all the features in this game, but even if you have, let's say, this layout working, and at least you can click on it to see if they're matched, whether you're matching or not, doesn't matter, right? If you have something working, I will accept that. All right. Okay, I'm just going to clean this up and then share it with you guys. So we can, yeah. So this is really annoying now. Okay. Okay, I think I already shared with you guys this, but anyway, I can share again. But yeah, so I think next time we're gonna look at I can cover something else next time, or we can just look at your project to see if there's anything else you wanted to do. Okay, if you don't have anything else, then we can cover. There's something called use effect, which is pretty cool. You can build like really dynamic application where if I want to build a timer or something, I can build a timer, countdown timer, which once I start, it goes down automatically and things like that. So yeah, we can build something like that, right? And you can see it like in 40 lines of code, I've built a whole to-do list, which is pretty cool, right? Any questions? All right. Yeah, good luck with your projects. As I said, come with the questions. Start the project now. If you have any questions, come with the questions, or you can always ask on the Canvas as well, or Discord, right? And then yeah, on what was that, 14th or 15th? 2 weeks from now is a presentation. All right. Cool. Yeah, we went a little over, but that's fine. If you guys don't have any questions, we can end this now.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you.